Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome to the G-Lew Show After Hours Live. Tonight we have a very, very special guest from Salinas. The man himself is here tonight. It's been long overdue, but he is here tonight. So we're gonna get it cracking. So kick back and enjoy. Yep. And just like that, we are back. Welcome to the G-Lew Show. Once again, I am G-Lew. This is Friday Night Live After Hours, and tonight, man, like I told you, I got a very special guest. He is here. Without any further ado, let me bring him in. His name is Mikey from the Chicano Rules.
That's right. Gracias to everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Glad to have you here, man. It's been long overdue. Hasn't been talked about much, but it's long overdue in my eyes. So when DD made it happen, shout out to DD, my producer, made it happen. I was happy that we made this happen. So without any further ado, this is Mikey from the Chicano Rules, but I'll let him introduce himself, man. Tell the people who we got tonight.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you inviting me over to the platform. I express the same sentiment. This has been long overdue. Shout out to you. Shout out to your executive producers that were very helpful getting here. I just got to say this, my brother, you got a very professional setup, the way you go ahead and set everything up. So shout out to you and to everyone on the platform and everyone that's coming over for Chicano Street, as I had announced and posted on IG and on YouTube Landia. Do me a favor, though. Subscribe before you hit the like, because this is the conversation that YouTube has been waiting for. Long overdue. We're here. We made it. We're on the G-Lew Show.
We made it, man. And like I said, man, it's overdue for me because I like to watch. I watch. We all do watch a lot of YouTube and all that, and content creators. But everyone is not like it's like boom boom. You know how it is in these YouTube streets, man. I watch this show, man. I really like what I first was introduced to you first. I know we got to go back a bit. Let me shout out to the chat. So many good people in the chat. What up, everyone? Thank you for joining us tonight, and all of the people that came over from Chicano Tube's channel as well. Thank you for coming to my platform. Much love and respect. But I was first introduced to you earlier with the boxing thing. That's how I first, because you were like doing your promoter thing. You had the first, I think that's when Gunner and the homie Cholo Trucker, my brother, he's in the chat tonight. What up, Cholo Trucker, my brother, man? They had their thing, and that was big, man. Like, you were one of the first ones to kind of kick this shit off. This in the realm of YouTube people and people.
Yeah.
Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the many things that I do is, and the reason I do this, G-Lew, is because just like you said, you come on here on YouTube, and we kind of get to find out, who is just writing a caption on the video, and trying to sell some or try to get views and likes. But, the YouTube is just like the real world. You know what I mean? It got his drama. It got a little bit of everything. So I seen that. But let me go back in time. Cholo Trucker was a part of the first Chicano boxing event on YouTube. He pulled up, didn't need to prove himself, proved himself. Not only has he stepped in the ring once, he's stepped in the ring twice, and one under my banner of promotion. So, the real reason I put this together is to separate people. Okay, the ones that yip yap and talk about it, and G, I mean, me and you are from a different generation. We're from the generation where the pull up was real before there was any social media,
right?
Cell phones, smartphones, etc. Once it got around the grapevine, the 64s were pulling up, and it was going to be dealt with, not too much talking. And here we are in the internet. And so the reason I created this, springed it out 2-3 years later, after Cholo Trucker pretty much pioneered it and opened the whole lane up, is to see who wants to pull up and who's going to pull up, hand it to them on a silver platter. So boxing promoters, one of the things that I do, I got the content creator series of fighting up and going. Shout out to Cholo Trucker. If you're in the chat still, mi hermano, I appreciate you more than you know. You got a gift, hermano. You got a gift for commentating, and the comments haven't started coming in. I just dropped the very first CCSOF tonight as a gift to the people for Mexican Heritage Month, and we only just begun. G.
We need a round of applause for that. And I want to touch on one thing too. You said about a Cholo Trucker, like you said, that dude is I used to call him the most interesting man. Like they used to say the Dos Equis dude.
Dos Equis guy.
Yeah, because Cholo Trucker, man, is a man of many talents. And but what you touched on his commentating, I agree. You know what I mean? Every time I hear him, whatever he's talking about, he's good at that, man. You guys need to bring him out on that, Mikey. You know what I mean?
Well, Cholo Trucker, he's under contract. No, I'm just kidding. He knows what it means. I recognize the gift inside of him, and he was gracious enough to come to the first one. And then this was the surprise right here, G. Then he calls me. I don't even know if it was a week or two after I did that first one, and he tells me that he wants to get in the ring one more time.
Oh,
and this was a Cholo Trucker. So I'm like, carnal, I'm like, you pioneered this thing. I don't know where the itch is coming from. There's definitely nothing to prove. In my series of fighting, there's no headgear.
right,
In my series of fighting, we use the smallest gloves.
right.
In my series of fighting, we do what's called Chicano Rules. I'm gonna explain it to you right now. I'll let you know what it is, because I know a lot of people are like, Chicano Rules. What's Chicano Rules? Well, this is what it is, okay? And I bet you can relate, G. There's gonna be unlimited knockdowns. If the cat keeps getting up, the fight keeps going.
Right.
Okay,
No TKOs. No TKOs. You get up, you ready to fight. Let's go.
Yeah, because it wasn't over until we jumped in the low lows and bolted out. So unlimited knockdowns is Chicano Rules, and unlimited blood as well. If they're leaking, but is still are there in the fight and moving forward, and no referee of mine is ever going to stop it when it comes to blood, etc. So it's like you're either going to have to take them out or the referee's going to stop it.
That was natural back. If you didn't see no blood, it wasn't a real fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Someone's nose was leaking, and that was just the norm.
Yeah.
That was just the norm. So shout out to Cholo Trucker for, again, surprising me, calling me 2 weeks later. I got that itch, but it needs to be on this timeline because he's a busy man, and I was able to make it happen. I want to give a shout out to Yard Recall out of Stockton, California. He pulled up a valiant effort, but Cholo Trucker secured it. And then in the end, I mean, I've been telling Cholo Trucker his heart is bigger than his body.
Right.
I mean, his heart is bigger than his body. In the end, while we're doing the little presser and everything that we had to do because it's a production, then he takes the belt off and gives it to me. And he's like, hermano, I want you to have this. I'm not going to defend it. Obviously, I understood what he was doing. It was maybe a personal challenge of his. And he checked that off the list. So shout out to Cholo Trucker, man.
Shout out to the homie Cholo Trucker. Hey, do you think, because I'm seeing more at first, like you said, when Cholo Trucker did it, Gunners did it, it was more like people were willing to do it. It seems like now you're hearing all the talk, but no, like, because I see you push it like, okay, well, you guys want to do this, let's do it and do it, in the ring. Yeah. But it's crickets, right? Well, I don't know as far as I know, but it's more and more of the yap. You know what I mean? So what do you think about that? And do you think what it is people can see what it is too? A lot of people yap and they talk, but like you said, no one wants to get embarrassed. No one wants to get those like they say, hands put on them, right?
I mean, if you get
their channel,
if you get murked and it goes out on the internet, it's there forever. Right. So obviously they take that into consideration. But I mean, I don't think they consider the cameras when they're squabbing, right? They're just they're throwing it. I don't think they can hear it, even though we got the DJs going, we got surround sound commentating going on. I don't think they hear anything. But as far as the business goes, yes, I have a big vision for it. It's going to go to Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. I got 2 states ready to go. I just haven't done the paperwork to get it to those states, and I haven't made the necessary contacts and connections because there's YouTubers everywhere. So the vision I have for this is very much to the top. It's going to the top. Now, I'm going to bring something to light right here on the G-Lew Show, man. Hit that like and hit that subscribe. I'm going to bring something to light, G. Sometimes this happens often, when I'm trying to negotiate something with the fight, there's other elements like street elements
Right.
that get involved in it. And I've been trying to tell people you need to separate the street from the business, because a lot of people aren't getting bags
Right.
because of the street stuff. I put contracts out and send them to multiple people who have called out people on the line and have heard a plethora of different reasons why they can't. And half of the time, it has to do with something street. So I just want to reiterate this, G, that it's you can't mix both of them, because what you're going to do is limit your pockets.
Right.
And so it's either going to be street or it's either going to be business. I'll use one good example. CJ, shout out to CJ Cholo Juan on the internet. Very professional. Have almost lined up a fight with him. It almost went down. The other side tucked his tail, but it is what it is. And he's a professional because he doesn't see that. He doesn't see the street element. He doesn't see anything. He just wants to see dividends.
Right, right. I get that from Cholo Juan. Like, he's down for let's do it. You know what I mean? I respect that about him. You know what I mean? I like that Cholo Juan. He could be bigger, than he is, I'm sure, and can be way big with the right direction or whatever, right? But I like his he's just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? With him, he's just,
you get what you get.
Yeah, and I like that. That's rare. You know what I mean? That's what people see in some people. You know what I mean? And he has that. So.
Absolutely.
Success to homie Cholo Juan, but he's definitely down to get in the ring. I seen that. He's like, let's run it. But again, people are not, certain people, especially if they're on a certain level. It's a few people I see that's like, let's run it, but some people, let's be truthful, are not going to do it. And they're probably going to come with the excuses and all that, but they're not going to do it because they don't want to take that L if that happens.
And they're not cut from that cloth, but you can tell who is cut from that cloth, because there has been people that ran it. Right now, so since I have two in the books, I have another one coming up on Thanksgiving, and then I have another one that's cooking already with one signature already signed. Those are the people that you could distinguish. They're not the yappers, they're the real ones. But yeah, you could see that, and we ain't trying to throw anything on everyone. If the jacket fits, it fits, cabrones. It's they caption every single video. This, I got beef, I got this, I got that. We know what's going on, but they're gonna do all of that from Sin from the Couch. That's a new generation. I respect everyone that has told me they're gonna pull up and has pulled up, and so shout out to them, because they're the ones that are cut from that cloth. The other ones, whatever excuse they come up with, well, it's the internet, well, it's this, or well, it's that. We don't want to hear it. And then what trips me out, G, is when they want to compete, and these are individuals that came up from the streets, and allegedly, and they talk about 200 fights and 300 YA fights and all this other stuff, and next thing you know, they're the most Mariah Carey diva cats that is like, you better give me grapes and fan me feathers, pick me up in a limo, and put me up in this hotel, and so there's a little bit of everything, and I'm learning how it goes. But pretty soon I'm gonna be like what's the name of the guy that gave the money to Suge for death row, but he was behind the wall? Remember that guy? Harry O. Pretty soon I'm gonna be like Harry O and just be behind the scenes and attending the events for pleasure.
Right, got you. I want to ask you this, and then I want to go back, because someone in the comment, Monica, had a question. It was a good question, but
absolutely.
Speaking on the doing your thing, promoting and all that with your thing, do you find it strange days? Thank you, sir. Do you find it hard, like, or do you have issues with this, being that you're considered, even though I heard you explain it, like, really not, I don't know your geographic, you're not officially north, you're like in the middle. But you find that with most of the content creators and everyone, again, kind of being in Southern California, and you being considered maybe to some of them that don't know you, or whatever the case, being a northerner, do you find that harder for you to have these things go through as well? Like when they look at it and say, oh, I don't even know about this guy anyway. You feel me? How does that work?
Absolutely. I think so. It's a stigma. It's hard to shake. Only the community knows what the real is, and not the internet. Because the internet will paint you any old kind of way. But you're right. I'm from Salinas, so born and raised. That's my city. And just like you said, G-Lew, these are kind of only things that I really talk about in the members only. If you didn't know, Salinas is actually the Los Angeles of Northern California or Central California, however you want to dice it and call it, where I'm located at. It's the Los Angeles, and then it has another reputation. My city has another reputation because here in our city, we know the history of us that have been here from the ground up. We know that that whole northern movement, when it came to northern Mexicans, started in my city.
Mm.
So my city, and this is, we're talking late '60s, and actually started in the correctional facility here, and my city was the first stronghold. So it started here. So it's hard to shake that stigma. It really is. And one of my principal message over to the youngsters, because I've been going to the juvenile halls and camps now for almost 10 years next year. One of my principal, yeah, my principal messages to them is unity. And it's a hard message to talk about in Salinas because just like you mentioned, Salinas just has that notoriety, right? They hear Salinas or they see a lettuce, tattooed somewhere, and it already has that notoriety. So I'm part of my I feel obligation is to go back to the community, tell the youngsters what I was never told when we were just catching the buses to YA. We were doomed. I mean, we were just gonna go to the Department of Corrections, and that was just it. And we were all indoctrinated that way, and that's sad to say, but we were indoctrinated that way. So Salinas has a big stigma that I'm trying to lift. I hope online when they see me, I'm very proud of where I'm from. Absolutely. I wear it on my chest. You go to all my bios, it's going to say Salinas, California. Absolutely. But I have a lot of regrets on how I grew up, and if I had a time machine, I would go back and change a lot of things.
Okay. Wow. I mean, I hear you. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm a listener. And I hear you talk about a lot of stuff. And what I get from you too, man, like you're very proud. Like I want to get into all that, not just at once, but like I told you from the beginning, I got a lot of respect for you for your get down, brother. Like everything you do it proudly. You know what I mean? You're like a man's man. You know what I mean? You stand on your principles or whatever you believe in. You know what I mean? You stand on it. I even see you out here getting to it with other people. But from what I learned, because I see sometimes I'm like Mikey he be tripping, right? But what I've learned is like whoever you are into it with or have issues with, like you say, they started it or brought some tension. Or even when I heard you speak about oh boy, I'm not even gonna say his name, but you said that it started because he mentioned your thing and talked.
Okay.
That was news to me. That made me understand because I didn't know even before what the issue. You know what I mean? But so I respect you. You know what I mean? Standing on business, like they say. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But overall, than that, and you have your whole thing going on with the political thing. I don't do politics too much because that's a whole. But you do it. Your wife. You guys like whenever she's on a Jen show, she turns that motherfucker up. You know what I mean? I said she's a firecracker. But you guys, man, I love you guys as team. Like everything you do, man. What I'm trying to say as a whole, like I appreciate it and I like everything. Everything is professional. You know what I mean? When you do your thing, your whole shit is professional, bro. Your what do they call that? Things you promote, the flyers, everything. Like, I like my brother's get down. And on top of that, what I like is you're just a cool dude. Like I say, this dude here, like you're a heavy, proud man, a Chicano man. You know what I mean? But you got some seem like you got some soul in you too. You just hella cool. You know your history, your music. You know what I mean? You're a cool dude. You know the stilo. You know your whole get down is fly. And I don't mean to be too much on it, but I like to give a man their respect when it's deserved. You know what I mean? Because I don't see that in a lot of people. So I just want to give you that, bro.
No, absolutely, and that's why I gravitated toward your channel. I'm gonna let you know. I did when I started the channel, I did a Sunday show with oldies, and they would always be commenting your channel, but I slept on it. I gotta admit it. And then when me and the wifey were heading over to the ATL, that was gonna be a few hours on that flight,
right?
And I ended up purchasing the internet. All of a sudden, my notifications went off. And I'm getting mentioned, and I click on something that gets me in there, and I go right inside your chat, and immediately it's like the saying goes, "Game recognized game."
Right. Wow.
And I said, "Oh, absolutely." And as far as the stilo goes, that's pretty much just what I was raised. That's how I was raised. And so, oldies, old school. And I pretty much, my story is a typical story, but it's very unique as well.
Right.
And a lot of, I have a series in my members only. I call it My Chicano Story. I think I'm on part 11, and I'm just and when I think about these stories, I actually have to go back and really think hard about them because I tried my best to just when I became a new man, like they say the Bible, new man in Christ. I really just wanted to forget a lot of things. You know what I mean? Just forget it, and I can only control here and move forward. But I tell those stories over in the members only a lot. But yeah, no, shout out to you. This collab was a long time coming.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I just want to plug that as well. You guys want the inside because you hear him go live and all that. But if you want the real story, you have to be a member. So go to his members only, do all that what you got to do, and then you can get the real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exclusive shit, right?
Well, you know what I call it, G. I say those are the tough guy stories.
Okay.
Those are the tough guy stories. Eating bullets for breakfast, knocking them down like dominoes. And it's nothing that's, of course, fabricated or fiction. It's just the story of my life, and I'm giving it like in chapters over there. But yes, for anyone that's into the dirty, the grimy, because I know those videos they get seen a lot. I just got a little bit more of a conscious over that, G, because the youngsters will jump on, and if they don't know no better, they'll see a cat, and if he's acting like a tough guy or giving tough guy energy, it steers him in the wrong way. And pretty much now in the correctional facilities, G, they got tablets.
Right.
They watching YouTube ever since they closed down. They closed down the YAs a few years ago. I'm kind of thankful that they did, because us youngsters that spent our years chasing someone with a knife and getting chased with a knife, I mean, that is traumatic, like to the highest degree. Where I seen some shit that's like, man, only the strong survive. They say the saying goes, right?
Right.
So I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder with cats that come on the internet and they say they're trying to guide people, guide youngsters, and guide the youth. But at the same time, coming out of their mouth and the energy that they're giving off is the opposite. Like they still want to be the cool kid in the music video. So yeah, those are the kind of cats, like you had mentioned, I bump heads with.
Right. So do you think, though, speaking on that again, what do you think is healthy? Because sometimes we get caught up in that, and like you said, you're really doing that to correct the bullshit, right? But then sometimes we get caught up in the bullshit, and now some people that don't understand or get it will think you're indulging in the same shit. So how do you kind of balance that, or what do you even say to someone who thinks that?
Well, I 99.9% of the time, G, I don't even respond. You know what I mean? The only time I get up in the comments and get into wars with anybody is when I had too much alcohol, and I'm a holiday drinker, so it's going to be on those days. But no, I don't feel like I have to explain myself to anybody. I think what people appreciate more on YouTube is authenticity.
Facts.
Like you, like me, like we're just talking about CJ. Authenticity, and I think people know when someone is not speaking from the heart, and is just trying to put on something like, oh, the camera's on, and it takes a little while to get used to a camera. Was never used to talking with a camera, and then it's like the camera's whatever. But I appreciate that you said that, though. Real recognize real.
Yeah, facts. And for you, what, like, again, wait before I do that, because I'm gonna keep rambling. I wanted to go back to this question that Love Grace had. Let me see if I can find it. But it was a good question. Going back to the boxing thing, she said,
okay.
Let me see if I can find it.
Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Love Grace, Drunken Chef, Strange Days, DD, Spankio, Jenny Selby, Jenny La Chicana from the 619 is in the casa. Spider-Man, Southside Stockton is in the casa. I appreciate you, my boy.
Okay, there it is. She said, question, will there ever be a girls boxing match? And how do you feel about the females?
I feel the females, let's keep this a buck. A lot of ladies fight better than a lot of dudes.
Facts.
And when the UFC came out, they fought a lot harder because they had a lot more to prove.
Right.
And if I like, a lot of these dudes fight a lot, fight soft. But anyways, would I do it? Absolutely, I would do it. I would do it.
Criteria for that. What would be the criteria for that?
Well, here's the thing, G. I'm not trying to make this as complicated at all. I amateur boxed myself for 10 years, and then so I've been volunteering, and I got a gym in Salinas.
Right.
I've been doing this thing since 2010. So putting these events together, I already know what it is. So what I'm not gonna do, just like I do with my fighters in my gym, is I'm not gonna match up. I'm not gonna negotiate. I'm not trying to. I'm gonna make it like the UFC days, the UFC one,
Right.
UFC two, UFC three. Do you want to squabble or not? Because if you don't, and you asking me, well, she needs to be 5 pounds of my weight, or then it ain't never gonna happen because the odds are against it already. But if two ladies get into something, reach out to me. I have several dates open throughout the year, and I could do events anywhere from San Diego to Crescent City because I got a gym almost in every county in California. That means a gym affiliate. I mean,
Right. Right. You could tap in. Um,
absolutely.
being that you started this shit. It's a motherfucking thanks I get but being that you've been doing this, right? What is the fight that you want personally, or not even? That's hard to. I'm sure
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
But what do you want for yourself that would make you like, man, this is what I want to do. This is the one, or something like this.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is what I want. I want not the fight that I would like to happen and materialize, but I would like for these fights that the people want to see happen, you want to see happen when it's trending and the beef is real. Again, we were mentioning CJ. He was one of them. And the other guy that's in Calexico, I'm not going to mention his name. Um, he turned it down. Again, it's like, I just want to make sure that you're gonna pull up. You know what
Right.
I mean? So the fights that are trending, the fights that the people want, G, those are the fights that I want, and I think they let the people down when they don't materialize it and handle it like grown men. Most of them are men that we deal with. Well, if you're a grown man, this is actually a positive example, believe it or not, to
Right.
the youngsters or to the clickbait channels. This is an example to them that you know what you can handle it, shake hands after, and have a beer and move on like grown men by contacting Mikey. If it was real, they would contact Mikey. If they don't contact Mikey G, it's either because of the gang shit. I got to keep it a buck. I got to keep it a buck because again, you're talking about Salinas, how they see me. It could either be that, or it could be that they're just the clickbait channel.
Mm, wow. Either or. Either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think? Okay, speaking on getting in the ring, we know that's the issue. Some are gonna show up, some are not. Right. But what do you think about say the YouTube Yarda, as they call it, or just the streets or whatever, what's going on, period. And where do you think it's going? Because it's kind of crazy
Mhm.
right now, right? Where YouTube is turned into like the streets now, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a lot of crazy shit. You know what I mean? No one, everyone is at odds. It's a lot of,
Yeah.
and you got something
Cutthroat.
coming out, though, putting it on the line and calling it how it is, and people get quiet. I see that. But what do you think? Where do you think about all this, and where is it going, man? And do you think it's going to get better or worse, or what do we need to do?
So let me say this. At the end of the day, G, YouTube is entertainment. For those that are making a bag out of it, that's fine. I actually do YouTube for a hobby. And then as far as the boxing, that just materialized because I've been loving boxing since I came home. When I came home, moved in with the mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law used to order all of the fights. And that's when I started watching boxing. I'm not gonna fake the funk and be like, I'm an old from the '90s head that was watched boxing for years. No, no, I didn't. I just grew up in the hood and we just stood in driveways all day and did what we did to catch cases. So I didn't watch no boxing or pay-per-views ever. But you know what? I believe it is gonna it's gonna flourish. It's gonna keep growing, and it's gonna get to the point where if anyone has anything to settle, we're gonna distinguish exactly who they are. Those channels that are clickbait channels that talk about all the wimps and all the crybabies, or even the guys that act like tough guys but really don't want to glove up. I think the internet, G, I think YouTube, they know. They recognize who is who on here, and other communities, and everyone kind of knows, you know what I mean? In the back of your mind, okay, oh boy, ain't gonna do nothing. But again, it's here It's for the people. It's content creator series of fighting. And man, I'm excited about it because I got contacts in Texas that want to take me to Texas. I'm just waiting to. I think everything is gonna happen at the right time, G. And I always wait on the God's time because God's time is perfect. Just like when I tell people when they get 15 minutes of fame, and if it comes to you, you need to be ready. You need to be branded. You need to have what you need, products or stores set up in order for your brand to maximize, potential. And like with CJ's instance, he could have ran that fade. That would have been a nice, hefty payday. But the other individual, of course, is just clickbaity. So I don't take it to degrees of all seriousness, G, to keep it real. We on the internet. Reality is when I close the laptop, click X, and tap in with my family. That's reality. So I do try to tell people to distinguish the internet from reality.
Right. And I think that's what that's the thin line now, and that's what's happening. Like, that's the blurred line right now. I think the internet has came, and specifically YouTube and YouTube channels where a lot of homies are getting on here and discovering it. It's almost like the best thing to happen, just like back in the day, when the streets, when the dope game and the crack, people is fast, like, whoa, this is what's boom, boom, boom. And you got homies that get on here and don't understand it fully, you know what I mean? And see and like you said, are not ready for that. And like you said, you can get the numbers and the fame overnight. And a lot of these people aren't even prepared, like you said, branded and ready, you know what I mean? So they don't know how to handle this, you know what I mean? Or do business correctly, you know what I mean? And can let the street shit overtake some of their things. And before you know it, you know what I mean? They're effed up before they even got a chance to really have an impact. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And shout out to Chemo's Flicks. I just seen you highlight his comments. He's on the YouTube Yarda. We could talk about the YouTube Yarda if you want, but here's Chemo's Flicks right here.
I see I check him out. I follow. He posts some crazy videos, man. You know what I mean?
Entertaining as hell, though, right?
Entertaining for sure.
Entertaining as hell. But just like you were talking about, G. It seems like the internet. It seems like they get put on, on the internet. And you have to be in rubbing elbows with certain people to be in the cool kids.
I like I like that. Hold on, you got put on the internet. Go ahead, bro.
You got put on the internet, and it something played out right in front of our eyes, G, when it came to the food community. Right. That's a perfect example of mixing the streets with business. You had an individual, contact an individual from up north. Shout out to Pocho, okay. And get this idea going. And then when Pocho came down and was getting it cracking over there, then they brought in another individual. Okay. Sooner or than later, the streets came into play on that YouTube channel. And when the streets came into play on that YouTube channel, there was a division, there was a fallout, and it ain't been the same since. And now the food community on YouTube pretty much has turned into an IG page. That's what happens when you're doing too much on the internet. You're doing too much on the internet. You're making it like you're one of the 5 families on YouTube, or you're part of the YouTube commission. A lot of people need to calm down with this thing. Shout out to Tony A from Rhodium Radio. We have conversations periodically. Almost every couple weeks we talk on the phone. And it seems like, 5-year, he just hit the 5-year anniversary, but he's seen a lot of the cutthroat stuff that happens and the phone calls and all that. I'm personally, no one calls me to talk about anything on YouTube because I won't even pick up that call. If it ain't business, I don't got time for it. But yeah, that's what the internet has come down to. I guess people are getting put on the internet. People are getting made on the internet. Maybe there's internet stripes. I don't know, but the real is going to recognize the real.
Right. And shout out to Tony A again. I seen that 5-year anniversary episode. I was actually watching it last night. Shout out to Tony A. Legend, man. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna be down there this weekend.
Dope. Shout out to him. And I hate that. See, that's the thing. I don't like what, like you said, the YouTube yard is crazy, and now you got people point at Tony A and disrespecting, and I don't know anyone's personal issues, so I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like Tony A deserves his props and flowers, you know what I mean? Because he has a legitimate platform, and what he does is showcase and do his thing with his music, and he has a history on hip hop. You know what I mean? And this culture. You know what I mean? And he has the knowledge. So I just hate to see Tony A get a bad rap. But again, I don't know people's personal issues, but I'm just speaking on the surface. You know what I mean? Tony A deserves his flowers and what he's been doing. And again, he's one that stands on business as well. You know what I mean? Because people can talk, but he said you can pull up any day and catch that fade. You know what I mean? So I respect Tony A.
That's right, man. Tony A. Again, he's a Chicano. I think it was the first Chicano channel in Cali that reached 100K. So shout out to him. But like we were talking about right now, a lot of people might not even know what you're talking about with the YouTube yard. It's a California thing. I mean, it really is kind of like, it's a fantasy. Obviously, it's just the internet thing, but it's a California thing because, gee, the reality of it is, man, it's sad to say this, but it almost seems like in California on YouTube that if you've been to prison or if you've been, up there, that all of that, it seems like it's a badge of honor for a lot of people, G. And to me, it's a complete waste of time. I mean, to me, my own personal experience, the members only is where you get that in detail. But when you start having loved ones, immediate family dying all around you, all of a sudden everything turns in focus. And once my focus locked in, I joke around with the YouTube yard and all that, and we can do that right here on the internet. Oh, all day long, it's entertainment. The few times I log on to YouTube, oh yeah, Chemo's Flicks is the first channel I go to. We can do that for entertainment, but the reason I have the members only is in no way would I kind of put those stories out on the internet. So the YouTube yard is a fantasy, but anyone can call themselves whatever. You're on the YouTube yard or whatever, or you're not. Me, I'd rather have conversations like this, G, like me and you, the brown community. I believe you're a lead voice for your community. That's what made me want to come on this platform right here, so they can see two grown men, two mature men have a conversation that's needed on the internet. And if anything did arise or did occur, grown men call each other.
Right.
We don't go to the internet. We don't make a video.
Right.
I made a video. He made a video. It's like videos now are like the shells, on the gauge. I mean, he shot a video. I shot a video. I mean, that's what it seems like they're slugs. So again, it's just, we're just, like I said, I recognize you, and I'm like, we over here are some grown-ass men really trying to take it the right way. I know the positive. I really know that the positive don't get the numbers. People want to hear the dirty, the grimy, and the this and that. Okay. But I got the members only over for that. And that's how I keep it.
Right. And like you just said, that's exactly what it is. It's hard. And I think that's why you get some more of the negative. And I'm seeing even some channels of dudes go to such links to put out crazy shit because that's what gets the numbers and that's what's taking over. So it's becoming a more of a numbers over integrity thing, and I get it, you know what I mean? But sometimes we got to balance it out at least. And, some people are not balancing it out and it's getting out of control. Like, I'm like, damn, really? You know what I mean? And people, cause it's a numbers game. But I think we're seeing it though, like in real time, how shit can change people and they can see if they get numbers like this, they'll do whatever, bro. You know what I mean? And that's what's fucking the game up.
It's crazy when you start hearing these podcasters are beefing with each other, and then one podcaster is at the car show and he sees the other podcaster and he's getting some homies together and he's stalking the other podcaster, and then you hear that he goes up to him while he's with his family. Gee, I'm telling you, this is what distinguishes grown men from teenage kids. That's that teenage kid mentality. Get off where you're mad at.
Right.
And I mentioned this. Someone asked me the other day, I think I did a short. What do you think is an OG? I said, well, I think it's someone that has gone to all the levels of the game. That means I did everything. And the reason I say that, G, is because only when you go to all the levels will you get all the knowledge, will you get all the teaching. You've been in all of these crazy lion's den situations. And then your character is going to adapt and you're going to, evolve and mature. But when it's not, you hear these podcasters looking for them and F him and F that. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not gonna say I'm not guilty of it, but everyone that I've ever had a confrontation with online, it's only been online,
Right.
has been because they did something personal. Like you had mentioned that
Right.
first fight with Cholo Trucker, he did do the first Chicano fight on YouTube. Now his opponent, okay, that guy right there, he pulled out of a fight that I did. And so there was a $10,000 clause in the contract where if you pull out of that fight, those $10,000 are due in 24 hours. And what did he do? He just tucked his tail and ran away. So,
Mm.
that let's just expose some of these cats out here, but it gets a little bit cutthroat, but it ain't that serious. At the end of the day, it's just the internet, G.
Right. Right. Let me switch lanes just a bit because I'm thinking about this and I want to ask you this earlier. Well,
Anything.
what like because I know man, you're a street guy. You've been through the pinta, all that. You know what I mean? Where did you and how, when did it come like for you? Because again, you're an interesting man, a positive man. Like you do a lot, and people see the internet, but you're doing stuff behind the scenes. Like we're going to talk about you dealing with the youth and going to the facilities and talking to the youth.
Mm.
You're an investor or promoter. Like when or how did all of that come into play where, you know what I mean, you got your grown man act together and you're a family man. You have a
Yeah.
wife, kids, I mean, yeah, holding down a family. When did all of this come into play for you, bro? Like because
Yeah.
it's only come into play, but you're doing it successfully.
Yeah. You're pretty much asking me when was that turning point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Yeah. That turning point came on my last term.
Okay.
It came on my last term. This one hurt because again, I had a family that I left. I had never done that before, and I had a family, and that hurt me internally. But that wasn't the turning factor because I'm eating, sleeping, and breathing something that it's all I knew. I grew up in the neighborhood. I grew up on the street. I was born on the street. So it's
Right.
something that I knew just all my life. But when I had a family, all of a sudden that started burning inside of me, but that still wasn't the turning point. So basically, it was getting the last term, going over the reception, um, and doing what was normal and everything else. Like nothing was changing at all. I ended up going over there, and then you see the counselor. Well, where are you gonna want to go? They ask you for a little recommendation. Whatever, it's BS. It's just part of the process. Well, I want to go to Soledad, or I want to go to Salinas Valley.
Mm.
And then I think I had like 39 points. I was 39. I don't even remember the point system, but I almost had 40. I think I had 39, and so I was like a borderline 4, I believe. And so they said, well, you have too many points. You can't go to Soledad. And then the counselor told me like this straight up. He goes, and I never had anybody ask me to go to Salinas Valley. He told me that, and I kind of, I thought about it, like, what's this guy telling me? And I said, well, it was a muscle reflex to me. Well, I said, well, I want to go. So pretty much, it was in that facility. That was a facility that was, let's just say, it was the tension was real thick, very serious individuals there, something always brewing and plotting, always going on there. That I kind of said, you know what? Maybe after these years, if I get home, I'm gonna do some right now. And then throughout that time, I had pops that passed away. That hurt. I'm pop's only son,
Right.
and here I am, in this kind of high stress environment. And my pops passed away. I remember when they told me, I thought I was actually getting transferred because they were transpacking a lot of people to go to Folsom. And I was like, man, I don't want to go to Sacramento. And but when they told me that it was my father that passed away, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And then my grandmother died. I had loved ones die, G, that I just said, you know what? Um, it's time to prove them wrong now. The district attorney that said I was the poster boy for gangs, it's time to prove her wrong. I got a lot to prove to a lot of people, and I got to stop being selfish and living for myself. So I said, you know what? If I make it home, because I didn't even know if I was going to make it, G, these
Right.
guards were popping doors. These guards were setting up fights. People were getting, blood was just pouring out of those cells. We're going to 8, 9 month lockdowns all the time. And that was the turning point. I said, you know what? Maybe I could do something different in my life. I have a lot of people that have high expectations of me. and maybe I could not live for me and finally live for them. And when I came home, one of the reasons I tapped in with that camp, that I had actually been there 2 times, was to see if they would let me go and talk to the youngsters. But I ended up going to seminary. I did Bible seminary.
Mm.
And then I ended up just going to business school and just finally getting it together.
Right. Wow. I mean, that's what I say, that alone, bro, because I don't want to get into too much of your business, but that's what I peep from you as well, that you got your business together. Like, everything seems together. And even like I say, really, when you get on the YouTube, you know what I mean, you found this as a hobby and you have fun with this. But I see like some deeper shit going on. You got a lot going on. I even heard you one day on your live, you know, you're like, hold on, let me, I'm doing some business shit over here with the builders and Moonty Womp. So I'm like, my man really has his shit together. So again, I salute you on that, bro. And again, holding down a beautiful family. I think you have 4. How many kids do you have?
We have 4, 2 girls, 2 boys. Shout out to Miss Chicano Tube, the executive producer of my own channel. She's actually the creator of all this that you see right here.
Right. Beautiful. And that's another thing I want to touch on. As you came, because you were on YouTube and doing your thing, but more the promoting side. But once you stepped in with the Chicano Tube, how did that come together? And again, salute on your what's the word I'm looking? How do you say it? Professionalism? But everything I see with the studio, the get down, all of that is on point. Like, how did you guys know how to come in and do this correctly? Because it takes a while to get it.
So, the birth of Chicano Tube, I was named another channel before, G. I was called the Salinas Report.
Oh yeah, and I was tapped into that. You know what? That's where. Hold up. There we go. Because you used to come on and give a lot of commentary and talk about a lot of shit. Yeah, I was tapped into the Salinas Report. Man, I didn't know that, Mikey.
Yeah, that's right. So it started with the Salinas Report, and we got to a couple K, maybe 3K, 4K, etc. And again, it was just a hobby, tapping in, and something that I kept saying, and it was subconsciously. I mean, I just kept saying this. And I started opening up my videos back on Chicano Tube, and the wifey caught on to that. And then, so the vision of Chicano Tube is actually something the wifey actually birthed.
Okay.
So the wifey birthed this. And then I went ahead and just the light went on inside of me. We did the rebranding and went all in. But, I'm at a point in my life, G, where, identity, pride, culturalism, all the things that the youngsters aren't getting taught nowadays, they're getting taught from the IG. That's why they're getting their identities. Right. Or you see people that aren't getting raised or don't have getting principles taught to them, right, learning them from research on the internet. Mm-hmm. So exactly, they're getting it from Google or gurus. There's a lot of self-help people that a lot of people put a lot of weight on what they say goes as Bible. So I was just like, you know what? This is something that just came out naturally to me. I'm back on Chicano Tube. And we just rebranded it. And after last June, we actually just hit the 1 year mark this June. I appreciate you. And then I actually started following a lot of Chicano pages. I never did. I never followed any kind of cultural Chicano pages at all. But I said, this is what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about the raza. We're going to talk about history. We're going to talk about our culture. We're going to talk about how we hand this down to the kids. We're going to talk about these historical facts and important things that the people need to hear, mixing it in with the community, the barrios, the neighborhood. My ear is to the street because I'm in the street every single day, mixing all this in. And, G, I got to keep this a buck with you. The raza needed representation that I thought was someone that the people can be like, okay, he's the one that's not, on the fence, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They needed someone down the middle to be able to, tap into common sense on the internet, because there's just a lot of jokers. There's a lot of clowns. There's a lot of clickbait. There's a lot of tough guys. There's a lot of guys that say they're for the community and helping the youngsters, but at the end of the day, they're telling tough guy stories on the internet. And at the end, all the time, I got to go to the juvenile halls and tell them, don't trip. Just do yourself a favor, unsubscribe from that channel. They don't, because it's entertaining. So I just said, you know what? Someone needed to take that position. I'm not saying all the delegates of the raza, elected me into some kind of position or anything, but I actually think I would be someone that I would listen to and take advice from, because you want to take advice from someone, you want to be in their place.
Right, right. Right, I agree. It's my birthday. Happy birthday, Hectic Nasty. But let me ask you this, kind of a two-part question, because I want to tackle this, but then I want to ask you, kind of flip it a bit. Um, speaking on like you just said, being the voice and all that, do you see yourself maybe one day? I know we talk about the other guy you talk about who had a position and lost it. I don't know the ins and outs of all that, but can you see yourself maybe one day doing something in the political field? Because I do feel you are a voice, you know what I mean? And especially in your community, in your area, I think, I don't
Mhm.
know, and you're real
Yeah.
boisterous on all politics. You're on point with everything. Do you ever think you could see yourself being in the political field in any
I
aspect?
I'm gonna keep it real, G. I don't. It that for one, it takes a lot of time. Two, I'm not passionate about politics. The reason I speak on it, because it does move the needle. When I go down to the community, and I see them talking about, they're paying for 2 bags of groceries, not even a full cart, $100, and they're just hurting. They're working 2 or 3 jobs just to get by. God forbid they get sick. When I hear about something that directly affects the community, I'm going to speak about it. Or if I hear an injustice, I'm going to speak about it. But as far as politics, it's definitely not a passion. I mean,
Okay.
you hear me talk about it at certain times. Um, it is a needle mover. It also is a buzz killer. Everyone has the right to believe what they want to believe, because I'm on that Martin Luther King tip where I'm
Right.
not even seeing skin color. You know what I mean? It's like it's about the heart, character, integrity of the person.
I agree.
And that's what I see in you, and that's why we're having this conversation, black and brown, having
Right.
a grown man conversation. You guys hit that like right here. But no, as far as politics, that ain't gonna happen. Now, I am involved to the degree in my community that when there's a homicide in the city of Salinas, I do get a call.
Okay.
They have asked me that because of my almost 10-year involvement with the city, the juvenile halls, and the camps here in Monterey County. I get a call for that. I attend the vigils. I have to go. I don't have to, but I constantly am going to the homes of the victims' parents to console them. I feel like that's the reason that I'm blessed, and I don't do that on YouTube.
Right.
A lot of people talk about things to get a pat on the back. That's fine. You do you. I'm not knocking it because I don't have a hating bone in my body. But a lot of things, the Bible says, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. That's how I know I'm going to get my blessing. So I am involved to a lot of degrees with the city community. But as far as politics go, no, it's not going to be me because it's just not a driver for me.
Right. Right. Got you. Got you. And I was going to ask you too, speaking on the family thing again, beautiful family again, but what do your kids think about Chicano too, Mikey on YouTube, and the mom, and everything you guys do on YouTube, and will the kids ever be a part of Chicano too?
Yeah, that's a question right there. You know what, G? I've been blessed. I actually, one of my worst fears was that I was going to see a mini me,
Mm,
in one of my kids,
right,
and people, believe in. They call it karma.
right,
I don't believe in karma because I don't know what karma is. It's like, is it like an energy? Is it a person? Is it something floating in the air? But I do believe what the Bible says: you reap what you sow,
right,
and it's going to come back to you, and it's going to come back to you in this life or in the next. So I'm blessed with the kids that I have, all academic. My daughter got accepted to UCLA. We have
wow,
a girl, and boy, 2 girls and 2 boys. That was one of my biggest fears, G. And it didn't happen because when I was sitting, thinking I was a tough guy in a 4x8 cement slab cell, staring at the wall for years, I told the Lord, I said, you know what, punish me for everything.
mm,
But don't just put it all on me. Never, never do I want anything from what I did to fall to the family. That's always the first thing that popped in my mind when these damn investigators, or they try to sweat you. And one time they even came to me over there while it was in Salinas, and we got you, we gonna file on you, it's a DA referral, you ain't going home no more, all you gotta do is this, and if you do this you'll be home by Christmas. I would be selfish if I would do something like that, because then I would have my family paying for what I did.
Right.
And that's the only thing that crossed my mind. Well, the second thing is like, shit, and I got to write a report about this. But anyways, my kids are all academic. My first son, my oldest son, Mikey, he was healed 100% from autism. They diagnosed him from autism. My son Mikey basically told me, "Gee, he's gonna be special ed. We're gonna send you a check the rest of his life. He's gonna need providers and all this other stuff." I had just gotten out of seminary, G. I'm on fire. I mean, I'm like the Human Torch, Johnny, whatever, Blaze.
Right.
I didn't want to hear it. So when the doctor told me this, along with this county specialist, that my son had autism, and he was my oldest son, I said, no, that's not happening. I appreciate your professional opinion and I respect it, but that's not my son and that's not happening. We did the holistic natural remedy thing and God healed my son, where a year and a half later, they sent a letter for a checkup. We took him, they undiagnosed him and didn't know what it was. Well, I know what it was. I was praying at 4 or 5 o'clock every morning for 2 hours before I woke up. That's when I was a lot more spiritual. Right. Our youngest son right now, he is on the spectrum. So I'm a special needs dad. So I relate to it. There's like a lot of things that I'm passionate for as far as helping. Another thing, G, I'll let you know what I plan to do that I'm going to do soon. Me and Miss Chicano Tube is we're going to open a foster home.
Oh, wow.
Because I have a passion, G, where I don't know what I think. I know I have my mom's heart, where it's that tender heart, where I see a lot of situations with children and it breaks my heart. And I want to have somewhere where transitioning mothers can go to if they want to get ahead in life and get back on their feet and succeed for their family. I want to give them a place. So that's something that's also in the works. I want to open up a foster home and get a 501(c) funded. If not, I'll privately fund it.
Wow. Man, I want to wow, it's I want damn before I forget. Before I forget, let me go back to this. It was a second part question I want to ask you too.
Sure.
About I heard you speak on it before too, but do you think you have a future? And I heard you say some things about radio. Or is radio even a thing you want to pursue? I mean, you could do it on your own, but radio is important. But again, you have that voice, and you have a voice literally, but a voice literally as well. You know what I mean? To speak and reach people. And I heard you speak about that earlier. Do you think would you want to have a future in radio in some aspect?
Yeah. So the reason I actually got into ring announcing, that's another thing that I do on the side. Ring announcing, like that first Cholo Trucker fight, they contacted me to be the ring announcer because they saw my ring announcing on the internet. I was DJing for many years. For when I joined the gym, and I started fighting and everything else and volunteering, I saw that, they would hire a DJ every once in a while. Well, I'm a garage DJ. I'm not saying I'm some kind of West Coast Red Bull champion DJ. Right. Forget about that. Okay, that's Tony A. Shout out to Tony A. or Q-Bird or all them legends. So a lot of people came up to me and say, hey, you got a voice. You got a voice like for radio. And I said, you know what? Let me do this ring announcing thing. And I remember I hired a videographer. We did like a little promo video, dropped the mic, smoke, and flying around me with his gimbal. And that took off a little bit. But as far as radio goes, yes, shout out to Cal P. He has his own show on KHCC. KHCC G is like that, radio station that plays oldies on Sunday nights, freestyle, rap, West Coast rap. A lot of the 90s West Coast rap. They had one show called Wednesday Rec with DJ Casio. So this is that, every city got that one radio station that's just popping, right? That has all of the genres of music that, we listen to. That means the streets and, old school night, an oldies night Sunday, like I mentioned. So he has a show. He told me just recently, I mean, this is like last month. He's like, Mike, I told them about you. They checked you out. They want to give you like a 2-3 hour slot. You can do anything as long as every 15 minutes you hit a button and play a commercial. But to me, G, it is gonna be more time consuming because I got plans to by the time I'm 50, I want to retire young. You know what's crazy, G, is that man, we'll work in this country, we'll break our backs. Our life expectancy is going down in this country, and we don't even really get to enjoy life.
That's a fact. That's a
I
fact.
mean, we're in this country where they're telling us it's all about 40-hour work weeks and 401ks, and you might have 10, 15 years in the end to enjoy that. I
Yeah.
mean, I got a lot of other ideas, like I wish they did 4-day work weeks and other things. So I'm just like, no, that ain't going to be me. The only way I did that is by turning myself into an entrepreneur. And the reason I turned myself into an entrepreneur is because I realized, even from selling dope back in the day, I realized that it doesn't take an hour to make $20.
Right. That was some game. Clutch eyes, they say. That was right there. That was a bar. Hey,
BTG.
that was a bar. But again, I asked you kind of about that earlier. Let me get back to that again because you brought it full circle. Where do you personally get your clutch or game? You know what I mean? Because you're a real rounded dude. You're not your just average. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Guy. Like, where do you
yeah.
who do you credit or where do you even say you get that from? Because you are, well, like I just told you earlier, bro. I respect that about you. Who do you credit or where do you like get that from?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, most of my mentors or the ones that I got, you said game from, they're
Right.
not even alive no more. They're
Okay.
not even living. It's crazy. I mean, it's a blessing. I see some of these, different people on the internet. They take photos of older cats, maybe from our generation or older than us. From the old school. I believe we're from the old school, right? Um, and they take a photo of 4 or 5 individuals and all got gray hair and everything like that, and I'm like, man, they're blessed to still happen to be around and alive and didn't get swallowed up and vacuumed like the rest of the OGs did. But in my city, because of the reputation that it did, again, the city that started the whole northern movement and all this reputation that Salinas has, in my city, all of the OGs that gamed me up, they went so hard, they're done. They're wiped out. It's either the drugs got them, the
Right.
life sentences got them, and they're in a hole behind a hole behind a hole for the rest of their lives, um, or they're not even here no more on in this world. So that's where I got my game from. I'm not saying those are the best teachers. I'm just saying that was my specific situation. Because let me keep it real with you, G. I mean, I see a lot of people, and they get a little bit like they don't feel like they are validated if they didn't were raised on the streets. I see people that were sheltered,
Yeah.
raised the right way, did all the normal activities, the prom, the dances, went to college, got married, etc. And I see them and I see that they kind of feel a little bit uneasy
Right.
because of other people, that have a street background, etc. And I try to tell them all the time, no, us really that came from the streets. If you were really from the streets, okay, if you were really in the hood, you would be trying to get out of the hood.
And that's what happens. See, so I'm glad you said that because do you think that is obviously that's how most are raised to think like, okay, that's bullshit, or someone else that is doing that, it's like look frowned upon.
Square.
They're square, right? But the people that are really fucked up like that, they really don't like that and really don't want to be there. So that's why when people do get money, they do something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and they know that's what they want to do because they don't want to go back to that, right? But do you think we are raising people to think that way because that's how it's made to kind of think, right? Until you realize the shit is too late and you're already old and like, you know what I mean, and fucked your life off, got 5 felonies, and you realize this is some bullshit, right?
Nowadays, G, that they ain't cut from that cloth no more. That cloth still exists. There's a lot of youngsters that I run into Salinas that have a lot of pride in being Chicanos Raza. They know my message, unity of the Raza. I don't see color bars no more. I see people. I see communities, all that indoctrinating stuff about the revolution and that we're Aztec this and your descendancy and speak now wine. Okay, all that came under the premise that you have to kill your brother. And that's what kind of that's what I ended up opening my eyes to. But at the end of the day, ain't no one raising anybody anymore. G, ain't no one schooling anyone down anymore. We're probably the last generation that had that, that got the schooling, that was told, look, you're gonna go to YA, you're gonna go to the pen, you're gonna run into enemies. This is what you're gonna do. We got that on the streets.
Right.
Before we even hit any institution. So we were already gamed up already there. Unfortunately, when it came to the street game, our IQ was high. I wish I had a higher, education IQ that probably would have got me into college. I just told my daughter this yesterday. We went to Best Buy. She said, Dad, what would you have done if you had the choice? Like if you had to do it all over again? I told her I probably would have been a lawyer. I would have went for the money and I would have made the right choices. But hindsight is better than foresight. So now it's different. G, ain't no one getting put on. Ain't no one knows no one. Everyone, the internet has taken the place where you can be who you want to be on the internet. I mean, nowadays, I guess you could just buy a pair of Benz and get put on. I don't know. No one knows nothing, right? No one knows. In Salinas back in the day when it started, it was all families. Everyone knew of each other. Either you were related to a family, married into a family, or whatever. Now, with the advent of the internet, I will say this, G. I will say this. The youngsters now hear the message more than we did. It was too late for us. I mean, we were just going upstate. We were catching the bus. It was already too late for us. And for us, we didn't want to hear the 90-year-old man come in with the guitar and the dog. It just wasn't going to happen. So these youngsters, I do want to say this, credit to the youngsters now. They are opening their ears. In Salinas, the homicide rate has gone substantially down. It used to be in the double digits for the last several years. Now it's been in the single digits. A lot of that has to do with hopefully people like me that are going back to the community and preaching this message over to the youngsters. But yeah, the youngsters right now, it's kind of a free for all. It's a different generation. They're wearing skinny jeans. I mean, those jeans are tighter than seal skin. I mean, I don't even know how they can breathe with those jeans.
Oh, and they get tighter and tighter. I don't, salute to the youngsters. I don't know. I thought that was a fad at first. I'm like, okay, this will go away, but no, it hasn't.
But the cutting off the circulation, I mean, so again, times have changed. They're in Dodge Chargers now. Times have changed. I'm not knocking the youngsters. No, they know what the real is because I'll be there on Friday, cabrones. They know what the real is, but they appreciate that because I've run into, I don't know how many youngsters, G, I've run into that I've talked to behind the walls. I've seen them on the streets and they're doing good. At least they're thinking about it because we didn't think about it. We just caught the L.
Right. That's a fact. And I want to get into that. Hairnet Tony said Vatos don't even wear hairnets anymore. Shout out to Hairnet Tony. He's a fool. Hey,
that's right.
But yeah, let me get into that because there's so many things, bro, you do. I just keep forgetting until you mention one thing. Like I don't even know how you keep up and have time to do all these things you do, bro. But let's talk about that. How speaking to the youth, you spoke a little bit about it earlier, how you got into it, but how does that work? And how have you progressed in that? Like, I mean, I know it was probably hard the first time because it's hard to because the youngsters are gonna, of course, okay, you got someone speaking, they're gonna go just to get out of that's free time or whatever they can do to get out there or whatever, right? But another thing to connect with them, right? How did that work for you, and how did you progress doing that?
Yeah. So I started in 2015 and I went to the camp. They built a camp in Salinas. It was in 96. August of 96 is when they opened the doors, okay, to that camp. Why? Because the Salinas needed a middle camp. It's one step to YTS, is one step to YA, but it's not that step. It's just in the middle, right? Higher than the juvenile hall. I ended up going to that place twice. It was a place that in the beginning they were talking a lot about peace building. That was the motto. But think about it like this, G. Think about it like this. They had a cell that had 2 double bunks because they were pushing this peace building message. They would put one individual in a room with 3 ops. 1 and 3, 2 and they'll say they were mixing it all up. It was basically every night we ended up calling it Caesar's Palace. So it didn't help us And I ended up going not just once, but I ended up going twice, right? And on the second one is when they gave me the 9-year YA suspension. And so I ended up getting out. Of course, I came home. My mind is already, rehabilitated. I ended up going to seminary. I could say this, G, that praying on my knees and in seminary is where I feel the Lord gave me the mouthpiece.
Okay.
Because I know how I'm going to finish my days. I'm going to probably finish I'm not even going to say probably. I'm going to finish my days preaching that word.
Right.
So I believe he already gave me mouthpiece then. So really going back into the camp was just me trying to do my little small grain of sand. That's all it was. I went and I met with the director, and I was just forthright with her, right? I was just like, you know what? Here I am. I've been through these doors multiple times. This is my proposal. She wants a proposal. She wants it in writing, a letter, and then she wants to meet with you. And I was able to get inside of there, and these are the bangers. These are the ones that they're blasted up, ink on the face. The only thing that does upset me is, sometimes in my group, what I mean, they end up, disrespecting each other. Right. That kind of gets me a little bit upset, and you know who's who. There's 20, 30 kids over here, then you got the 5 over there, and you can kind of distinguish and stuff like that. And then, they bully and they disrespect. That kind of gets me a little bit, it is what it is. Right. But you know what, G? There is nothing else. Nothing, not even YouTube, nothing that's more rewarding than changing someone's life. And so I know that by me doing this, that's the real work. And so I'm going to keep doing this because that is a passion.
Right. That's dope, man. I like I said again, you do so much, man. What do you personally, with all the things you do outside of the stuff you do in real life shit, like you just said, speaking to the youngsters and doing business stuff, what do you find that you do on, let's say, the YouTube factor? Because you cover a lot of grounds on YouTube. You do your political thing. You come on, you just talk shit, and then you come on and you have your boxing thing, and then you do your DJ thing. Now I know that you spoke on it earlier. You have DJ Roots as well. What do you enjoy the most out of all the ground you cover on YouTube?
Man, I gotta say that every time I go live or drop a video, my heart's in it, and I'm speaking from my heart. So again, YouTube is a hobby. My lane is basically, I'm a Chicano from Salinas on here, showing the people that it can be done and that change is possible. I don't really think I have one, particular niche or anything, G. When I go live and put too much thought into it, I'm going to speak what's on my heart, and that's just it. Now, when it comes to the music, them oldies especially too, man, I grew up on them. Every time I walked up to the house party, Mary Wells was playing. And right. So I got a collection. So it's just a little bit of everything. I'm not all over the place, but I am me, and at least I know I'm not a carbon copy. So when I hit that live button, you're going to get the real, and that's right. What I believe people appreciate.
I agree, and that's what I get from you from the first time. Like, I tapped in with you and checked out your live, and then even when you do your oldies and your DJ thing, like, I don't watch a lot of people. It's a few, you know what I mean? And I get on with their respect, and you're one of them because I know it's really coming from the heart, and you know your music, and it's all like your whole get down. I respect it, man. So I'm tapped in as well. So you cover a lot of grounds. Now, what is coming up for Chicano Tube? Like, you got this, you're tapped in about a year fully now. You got this new year coming up. What are the plans for Chicano Tube, man, for the future?
Yeah, so the plans for Chicano Tube is, up here, Central California, Northern California, whatever you want to call it, ain't no real channel putting on for our section.
Right.
And so the vision I got for Chicano Tube is pretty much turning it into a sit-down panel podcast where we have a lot of different individuals. We could be talking about topics, or we could just be shooting it one thing or another. But I'm looking around in my, demographic in my area, G, and no one else is really putting on like this. I mean, no one. I mean, you're from SoCal. I mean, you're from like where it's the melting pot, and it's like podcast headquarters is where you're from. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know if you knew this or not, but other states, they look at California.
Right.
We're the trendsetters. and other people, and I'm not knocking anyone else from any other states, but you know what I mean.
That's a fact.
So it's a fact. It's a fact. And so that's what I'm wanting to do up here when I have more time and sail off into the sunset. We're gonna go ahead and take this thing to the next level. And it's gonna be a good old time. It's gonna be a good old time. So that's the plans that I got, but also including content creator series of fighting. Chicano Tube is going to be a main platform for content creators, series of fighting, because who I put in the ring are YouTubers. So I'm trying to network with more and more YouTubers in different states to grow this show. So we got a couple of SoCal shows that are coming up in the very near future. Just be on the lookout for those announcements. And that's it. I don't like the channel is not really geared toward um, information or sit down interviews or other things like that. It will be just kind of the way it's been going, but it is going to evolve into that sit down podcast, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna speak on that too because I see you. I've been seeing you going in that direction recently, and I want to speak on too. You've had a couple. Well, you had a few guests on there, but you've had the homie who was with Tony A, who went through his issues, and we disappeared
Norbies.
with Norby's. We didn't see him, and then he's popping up on your show now, and you got the other homie from Full Community. Um, so I see the direction you're going in. So that's great, and you have great comment. Both of those are good hosts. That's why they did what they did before. But how do
Yep.
you? Okay, what do you say for the people who's going to say though, like for Norby's, which actually got a lot of support after that
Mhm. Yeah.
separation. He got a lot
Incident.
of support, right? But what do you think for the people who's going to say, okay, well, he's just taking in these guys like Norby's, who some people may whatever issue they have, they may say he's good, not good, or whatever the case. And
Yeah.
other dude from Food Community, they may be like you're taking in these guys or whatever.
I get it.
You feel me?
I do. I do. I feel you. I feel you without saying too much. Yeah.
Right.
So you know what it is, G. Is that good, no good? Again, that goes back to mixing that street stuff with business. And I really can't be around those individuals anymore. Now I respect it. There's no way. See, this message that I tell the youngsters, and I'm not trying to take the neighborhood out of them. I'm just trying to tell them to be proud of their neighborhood, but make the right choices. But all that good and no good, yeah, I know what you're talking about. If anyone is gonna stop me from doing business, then I just can't have a connection with you.
Right.
That's just plain and simple. Now, when it comes to the streets, you don't mix that with business because it's always gonna go bad. Period. And so I'm not taking anything away from anyone that feels they need to be under some kind of code, etc. You do you. I actually grin, G, because I'm from the city, like I said again, where the shit started up north. And all these years, I'm talking about decades, all I ever heard was that.
Right.
That's all I ever heard. So I got a chip on my shoulder for that even getting spread anymore.
Right.
Again, I respect everyone because I'm from the generation that was taught respect first is given up front.
Right.
There's people like to say these little sayings on the internet, respect is earned and this and this and that. Well, I mean, it's the opposite to me. I was taught it's always respect up front until the disrespect gets into play. Then we got to deal with that situation. But so yeah, when it comes to that right there, I'm gonna let whatever floats your boat. Floats your boat. People had asked me, Mikey, what if 6ix9ine contacted you, and would you let him get in the ring? I'm like 6ix9ine. Imagine the numbers that he will do. I'm a businessman at the end of the day, G. And so yeah, at the end of the day, when they want to talk streets on the phone, I can't do that. That's fine. Now, I'm a realist, G. I'm a realist. This is never gonna happen. This is never gonna happen. But if I had to fall in the ranks again, then I would have to fall in the ranks again, and whatever would come would come. I'm a grown ass man. I know what I'm doing. But when it comes to business, I'm always gonna put business first. But I'm always gonna keep business away from the streets, away from the family, and business away. My family, that's the most sacred thing to me. That's what I'm going to fight tooth and nail for, to protect from all this. But yeah, people that talk that street stuff, I mean, I don't know, G. I'm just like, how old are we? Let's act our age, not our shoe size.
Right. And I'm glad because that was going to be my next question because you're speaking on it. When do you think and where, like, because obviously that's an issue with the YouTube thing now where
Yeah.
like the street stuff gets mixed in with YouTube and it gets misconstrued. And like you say, people are not using it correctly or people hinder
Yeah.
themselves. And they say one thing. My thing is this, because just like you just said, it really should be, or if you're going to decide to get into this space, you got to choose. It's just like being in the streets. Can't have 1 foot in if you're trying to be legit, 1 foot out. You have to decide what you want to do and what comes with this. So that plays a big part in a lot of the content creators issues. They want to be say they're this and put the mix to street shit. But then my thing is this, they turn around and do it anyway because a lot of these people that stand on the principles, they eventually wind up doing weird shit and all this for the numbers anyway, right? So that,
Yeah, man. Anyone on the internet that's running YouTube, their channel, like it's the streets, like it's one of the five families of New York, um, they they ain't cut from that cloth. I don't know what else to say. I'm not trying to, disrespect or say anything like that, but it's funny because I've heard of that, G. I've heard of that, like, well, we're gonna bump him off because he did that. I mean, just look at Jenny 6ix9ine. Jenny 6ix9ine, she got jumped on because one of the girls said she listened to a certain song artist who has some weirdo charges. I mean, did that warrant Jenny 6ix9ine to get jumped on at a music shoot? This is exactly what I'm talking about right here. And a lot of people have no problem with it. I have a major problem with it, man.
because
These people hadn't got enough. Their backs haven't been against the wall enough.
Right. And I get that because it was a lot of stuff when that happened. But at the end of the day, she's supposed to be a civilian. So she shouldn't, those whatever, like I get rules shouldn't apply. So I don't know, the gist of that. I don't want to, you know what I mean? But I heard it was a lot about that. But at the end of the day, if someone is a civilian, you know what I mean? Whatever should matter, right? So, I don't know. I don't want to, I don't know, you know what I mean? But yeah, I get it. But that's my point again. Where do we draw the line with this stuff and how does that work? Because that could be an issue when people mix the two, right?
You know what I tell the people? Cut everyone. Don't hesitate to cut anyone and everyone off when they're not letting you be you. At the end of the night, you got to go to sleep with your own conscience and your own decisions. And if you're doing something and coming from a right place, who cares what anyone else has to think? I mean, all this, like you had just mentioned the word civilian. Well, that's another kind of street term, right? That's another street term. And it's sad that we got to classify people. People from out of state see us on Cali and they're like, what's going on over there? You know what I mean? Have you noticed all these channels that always comment on what's going on in Cali? And they look like they're just stirring the pot and stirring the pot. That pot, I'm not feeding into that. Again, too many years of having that. I got a chip on my shoulder when it comes to, I have a lot of regrets, over 20 years of regrets and unfortunate stories and stuff like that. But that's all that stirring the pot, G. I mean, I'm here on your platform because I believe you're one of the lead voices for your community. And I believe I'm one of the voices in my community. And here we're setting the example tonight of how it's supposed to be done, talking man to man, face to face, community to community, like professionals, not disrespecting. And hopefully we can set the example for the next generation. But I don't think so. It's like the Wild West nowadays. And by the late 90s, G, everyone that I knew, especially my closest friends, I had my closest 5 best friends in the world, dead in the system. And 2 of them just came home because of SB 260 that got juvenile life, but they're able to get parole after 20 something years. They don't want to hear anything about the streets. They don't want to hear anything about civilians. They don't want to hear anything about you're good or you're no good. That's all that street stuff. Hey, if that's you and that's making your heart beat, then you do you.
Hey, yeah, I agree. What do you think? Why, speaking on that, like you said, out of state people, how they look at it, why do you think California, the only place really like that where we have these issues, like you said, not only racial, black and brown, but I mean, brown brown, black and black, north, south, and the politics play
Yeah.
a real serious role. And I know I get it, the gang, the prison thing, but why is California, you think? Because in most other places, it's not like I'm like you. I've traveled and been around, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Where it's big black and brown presence or whatever, and those they don't have those issues like that. Of course,
Yeah.
people do their own thing and respect their cultures, but it's
Yeah.
not like that. It seems like California is the only, and really Southern California. I'm from Southern, but it has a real, beat. It's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even in the Bay, again, not aside from the northern and southern politics, but in the Bay,
Mexicans.
it's not black and brown. It's no issue, But so why do you think, first of all, just California is like that, unlike
You
any
know
other?
what it is, G? I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, G. A lot of it had to do with them movies.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of it had to do with them movies. When they heard the saying, "The inside controls the outside," it was a wrap. It was a wrap. A lot of it had to do with the movies, like the movie Colors. The
yeah.
movie Colors
No,
was
that's
the movie that set off all of these automatic weapons in the streets, and the statistics went crazy. So all of these movies, where are they based out of?
yeah, yeah,
They're based out of here. They're based out of our state right here. So that's what I think it is. But a lot of it has to do with the romanticization
yeah,
of the streets. In our generation, G, we were trying to make a band, make some racks to get out of the hood. Now it seems like they're trying to make money to get in the hood.
good, yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah,
it just seems counterintuitive. It seems different. So I would say it was a lot of the movies, because look at the influence the movie had. Ever since Boulevard Nights came out, all of a sudden every single Mexican gang got a chuco in it.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? And then when Blood In, Blood Out came, all of a sudden, every güero that joined the Mexican neighborhood, we called a Miklo. Or there was a Miklo almost in every neighborhood. So a lot of it has to do with the movies. But I am very clear on this, G,
the big
that
TV.
I'm separating Chicano culture from Cholo culture. That's what I keep telling people. That it's two different things. The hood and blasting it on the wall and crossing them out and putting a K, that's the hood culture. But Chicanos were birthed out of a struggle for equality. So it's two different things. But California does have that undertone. But I believe I'm going to be one of the ones that's going to fight tooth and nail until the last breath in my body to undo it. I mean, even though I know I'm just one man, but my message keeps going out and now, and as the platform keeps going, we're going to undo the stigmas, and we're going to just teach people to evolve and mature in life. And that's what I'm in it for.
And yeah, I agree. And even speaking on the gangs, and like my thing is just now, even what I see with the gangs and what's going on, I see, the youngsters is still going on. But to me, when I look at it, I don't know if it's because I'm older, maybe, but it's not even the same. It's not even what they do it for, what we did it for, and what they do it for now is different. You really had territory, you had neighborhoods. Now people ain't even really their neighborhoods no more. You know what I mean? And it's like you're holding on to something, and we're trying to, and it's not, the youngsters don't even have the same struggle or what it was when it was cracking like that. You know what I mean? So now it's like we have to really, really realize that it's bigger than that. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People fighting over blocks they did on own, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like we're realizing that now. You know what I mean? So what do you think the future is for the youngsters or gangs or
Yeah.
the so-called shit that went on when we grew up to what it is now?
Well, the hoods are never going to stop. I'm a realist. The only way the hoods will stop from existing and gang banging is if all of a sudden everyone from the hood got a realization that they just wanted to give it up, let the dead homies and the beefs and the bad blood go. And that's never going to happen. So the future, I mean, even the Bible says it, G. I mean, the days are going to get more and more evil, and that's just point blank. But this generation, at least they lend their ear to hear a little bit. So when I go to the camps and juvenile halls, whether they come in for the Snickers, the potato chips, or whatever, I'm planting a seed where I've seen that seed grow and change, and I'm just doing my part. But as far as the future goes, there's always going to be neighborhoods. It's funny because they come up with the word active. Have you know the word active, right?
Yes.
Of course, you've heard that word before, right?
Yes.
That's a street term, right? Active. And it's funny because I actually think they should have gave our generation that term, because our generation was the one that I knew I wasn't going to last 60 or 90 days on the streets,
Right.
and I had no hope, nor did I want anything. And now it's different. Now the youngsters, as I'm telling them this message, I see them enrolling in college, buying cars, getting married, having kids, and stuff like that. The first time I heard the word active, I was surprised. I'm like, a youngster told me like this, G, one time, well, I'm active. And you know what I told him? I said, well, what are you doing on the streets then?
Mm.
I was just like, the neighborhoods with the ops, the enemies, they're there. They're posted 24/7, 365. I mean, what is it? So I just know that this generation, they're listening though, but it's wild now. It's wild. When in about 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, when our generation is no longer here, who knows, man? Maybe we'll end up like Back to the Future, flying planes, and I don't know. No.
But it's there, like you said, that they do have an ear, and they have more opportunity now if they want it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, like you said, we can't never give up on the youth, and a lot of them, are figuring that out. But it is a lot of, man, they have a lot of opportunity. Like the world is theirs. There's so much out there now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Programs and so many things. But if you have to want it though. But they have a lot of opportunity.
Big D keeping it real. He commented. He said movies with a question mark. I'm talking about the hood movies. I'm talking about American Me, Blood In, Blood Out, even Colors. You name it. Boulevard Nights, Mi Familia, Vida Loca. Go on and on and on. That's what it is. When those movies came out, like here in Salinas, okay. You probably know this, G. What? Once you pass Bakersfield, there's more people on the red side of the color bar than there is the blue, and it pertains to the Mexicans. I didn't see anything blue. I didn't see anything blue until American Me came out, and then all of a sudden we started seeing some blue. But we weren't tripping because we're still killing each other. We're still fighting each other. I've always fought more of my friends than I ever did ops or foes ever. But when those movies came out, that's what it does. It gaslights something. It lights it. So again, they're good movies, but they don't tell the reality, right? Because someone dying obviously leads to mamas crying, funerals, and has a lot of collateral damage. But you don't see all of that behind the scenes when you see the movie. You just see this tough guy that is acting like God. And when he gets out, everyone acknowledges him as God. And then the youngsters want to be like that guy. And then when they realize that the game is chess and not checkers, it's too late. And I know plenty of youngsters that have multiple life sentences before they're even 21 years old, before they were even able to buy a drink of alcohol. So it's a sad thing, but that's what the movies did, Big D.
Hey, and even with the movies, like you said, and some of the movies can have a side where they're showing you, like, because at the end of all these movies, someone dies, right? Like Chuco
tragedy,
and Hodges died, and Colors, all these. But people are gonna take. They're not gonna take. They're gonna take the, like you said, the sensationalism from it. They're gonna take the cool parts. You know what I mean, and all that. That's what they're gonna take from those movies.
We had a gang task force, which is similar to the crash on Colors here in Salinas in the early to mid 90s, and I kid you not, man, this officer, he had the same face as Pac-Man on the movie Colors, Officer Birch. Everyone knows he did, and he loved when everyone would call him that as well. And again, he was just always trying to just take it to the next level and be that rock and roll kind of cop and stuff like that. And back in the 90s, again, it was a different time. We would get the business. We did Menace Society, the same thing when they threw him in the back seat of the car and nightstick them and all that.
Right.
Has happened. I've been at the PD station. I gotten bum rushed. Back then, there was no cameras. And then I was 16 years old. I ended up going to the PD station. They looked at me. I always looked a little bit older. They put me in the adult tank. And then all of a sudden, I got mouthy with one of them. 3 of them rushed me. It is what it is. And then all of a sudden, they opened my door, and one of them knows me and says, "Diaz, what are you doing here?" He knows I'm 16 years old. Guess what? With a black eye and something like that, they just let me out the back door of the PD station. I mean, with those kind of experiences back in the day, if anyone had a reason to have a chip on their shoulder for the police, it would be me. I got a lot of instances like that, but I'm a realist. I'm a realist in what's going to work, how we're going to contribute to society. and what we can do to make a difference. Those are really isolated cases, and those stories stay in the members only.
Members only. There it is again. I'm telling people, tap into the members only section to get those exclusive stories from Big Mikey. Again, so Mikey, again, we chopped it up a little bit about the future, but what can we expect, and what are you really diving into right now that
Yep.
we can look out for?
Man, just look out. This is Mexican Independence Weekend. I just ended up dropping for the first time. I had to release the rights, the copyrights, the permissions through the pay-per-view company in order to release it. So I just dropped Content Creator Series of Fighting, the very first fight. It's Mexican Independence Weekend. I'm going to be linking up this weekend with Marvelous Minds, and we're going to drop something. Shout out to Marvelous Minds. Mi hermano, I appreciate you. Gracias for your time. He's a very busy man. We're going to be dropping something on Mexican Independence Day, which is Monday. Those are the immediate plans. It's September, the last couple weeks of the summer. Here comes the fall. But yes, the podcast is little by little evolving. I'm looking for to get podcasters in my region, in my area, to come on the platform. Now, I'm not just gonna bring anybody. You know what I mean? I'm trying to bring someone that at least on the level that I could talk to.
That's what I was gonna ask. I'm glad you brought that up again, because I was gonna ask you earlier when you said that you're gonna expand your podcast and especially in your area. How are you gonna look for these creators or people to come on? Because again, most of the people you interact with and people doing it are more down south. So you don't know about the people in your area. So how are you gonna make that happen?
Well, I'll tell you what, whoever does partake in it is going to be a pioneer, right? Obviously, this is going to be a venture that's going to be beneficial to everyone, right? If everyone comes in to play on this panel and they have individual channels, well, those channels are going to get everyone subscribers, right? Right now, we just hit 12K last month. So what I'm saying is that we're going to do it like that. And whoever wants to participate, just get at me. We'll have a conversation. I just need to talk to people that are on the level. That's all I want to talk to is people that are on the level. So shout out to Norby's, man. He's been a monthly visitor. Shout out to Pocho. He's been a monthly visitor. Shout out to ALG. Other people that I'm talking to. The list goes on and on with the Chicano channels. But, I believe it's just going to fall into place. I don't got to do too much, G. I'm going to leave it's going to fall into place. As the channel keeps growing at the right time, they're going to reach out to me. Now it's time. Let's take it to that level. This is the 2.0, but then we'll get to the 3.0 probably sometime next year is what I'm looking to launch that. I still got a couple more fights this year, so that's going to take a little bit more of my time. And then the holidays come and they go. But I appreciate the invitation, G. This has been a great conversation over to both communities, black and to brown. You guys, all the people from Chicano Street that are tuned in right now, you guys, don't forget to subscribe over to the G-Lew Show. Go back and listen to this replay, man. We got a lot of things that we talked about that are nuggets and are real helpful and beneficial to continue black and brown relations, because over here, there ain't no divide.
None.
I don't see skin color. I don't see none of that divide. But some of these cats that say they're leaders and they're mouthpieces, you see them trying to have these conversations on the internet, and it goes south.
And I don't like that, man. It's like, wow, you know what I mean? I just think, like you say, it's just a way to be professional and how to handle yourself, regardless if shit goes left. We still got to keep it together, and it shouldn't even go left, because, like you said, if you're having a respectable conversation, as just been, is I don't see the issues, but we have that. So again, like you said, I'm glad we could do this. I knew we could do this, and I want to continue this. Also, we spoke about some other things. We're gonna do some collaborations as well.
The West Side Wednesdays.
West Side Wednesdays. We're gonna collaborate, so we're gonna do some great things. So shout out to you. And also, I wanted to salute your channel, and I like when you and your wife come together too. I think those are some good episodes, so you guys should explore that more too. And it's good to see that, family unity, and you guys can speak for both the women and the men. You know what I mean? I like that inspiration. So
my wife is into natural remedies, holistic healing, health, frequencies, vibrations, kind of everything that I'm not into. Right. And so it's always the yin and the yang. And to be honest, I'm just glad I knew the Lord sent her in my life, because, if I would have got like a Bonnie, and it would have been like a Bonnie and Clyde thing,
it would have been all bad.
I would have kept that CDC number,
Right, right,
and it just would have been a bad situation. So that's what it is. You know, you got to kind of manifest that and not want that, because if you want a Bonnie, I don't know. I mean, it's to each his own. But I was looking for someone that's going to challenge me to grow.
right, right. Exactly. And it's about balance as well. You know what I mean? You need a good balance, man. So yeah, again, salute to the whole crew, your family, man. Beautiful family. I see great things happening for you. You're a cool dude. I respect you, homie. Your get down, your whole stilo, all that, man. And continue success. And thank you for coming on my platform. I knew it was gonna be great, and it was. You know what I mean? So thank you, bro. Thank
Absolutely, man. Everyone that's in the chat from Chicano Street and even G-Lew, you guys just go back, hit the like button before you go. It takes a second. Just hit the X on the chat. The chat will disappear just for a second, and hit that like button. It lets YouTube know who you're rocking with. And then go back and listen to the replay, man, because we talked about a lot of good things that absolutely strengthen the black and the brown community. Go back and listen to it. This is just the beginning.
This is the
We
beginning.
just done started collabing.
That part. We're gonna see much more. So thank you, everyone. Salute. Much love, Mikey. I'll be tapped in. Go follow his channel as well. Chicano Tube. The homie goes live. He does his thing, all types of stuff. You never know what to expect. Salute to you. Shout out to my producer, DD Hairston. And until next time, we are out of here, people. Much love and respect.
Hey, buenas noches, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Peace.